Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Within Zionism, here with Ozzy Fine and Moshe Schwartzberg. Let's jump right into today's episode.
This week's episode, we're going to build off of our second episode called What is Zionism? If you haven't listened to that, go check it out. It's an amazing episode. People seem to love it. We're going to start off with asking a rather simple question. So, Ozzy, since we started this, has your view of Zionism and anti-Zionists changed in any way? If so, tell us what has changed.
Okay, so this is with zero thought. I didn't, Moshe, you showed me these questions before, but I didn't really have a chance to, think about it at all. So, off the top of my head, yes, my view of Zionism did change. Not that it changed, but I think it grew. My belief in Zionism. Throughout this podcast, I've done a lot of research and I've gotten a lot of knowledge on what Zionism is and the history behind it. Everything that we've spoken about in the podcast in the first 8 episodes. And it just, my belief in it just grew, and everything I learned throughout doing research for the podcast just really helped me understand what Zionism really is. And my family history, me being Jewish, my family history is, leading up to Israel and living in Israel. So I think that it's a big part of it.
So, me personally, before we started this podcast, I had some level of Zionism. I knew I wanted to go to the army, serve my country, but I didn't really have any thought to it. There was no activism on my part, and I somewhat felt a little empty because I didn't have any activist part of me. I wasn't doing anything, and I didn't really want to have to wait that extra 2 years or whatever until we actually join the army. That leads me to my next question. Why did we start this podcast? We've briefly mentioned it in our live streams that we've done, and if you want us to do more of those on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, let us know and we'll love to do it. But we briefly mentioned why we started it. But let's go into that, because it's a fun story of two teenagers that were just in the beginning of 12th grade, and now we're in a 9-episode podcast, and we're just gonna go on from there.
So I think the goal of this podcast is really to get people to talk to each other about what's going on. A lot of people have opinions but don't really talk about it. A lot of people are against or pro, and they're not heard. They don't voice their opinions. And I think that's what me and you did for a while, Moshe. We were talking among ourselves, among our friends, on Twitter, this and that, but we weren't really reaching out to anyone. We weren't getting anywhere. We were getting into arguments and fights over Twitter with Palestinians or, left wing, whatever it is, anyone that, thought other than us. And we, in the beginning, I think we didn't realize that, it's okay to have a different opinion. Not everyone needs to think the same as us. The only problem that happens there when other people have a different opinion than us is that there's no communication, so yes, it's okay to have a different opinion than another person, and this goes in any perspective. When you're talking about anything, it's okay to have different opinions than other people. But if you're fighting over the same thing and there is something there that has to be solved, then in that situation, the only way to actually come to a conclusion is to talk about it, because at the end of the day, we're people. And if you look at the really big picture, if you really look at, if you would take a picture of Earth from space, it's this ball, right? It's, flat Earth or not, whatever. Who's controlling it? Obviously God and whatever. Not getting into that though, but at the end of the day, humans are the ones running the show. And again, if you really look at the big picture, why can't humans just get along? If every human in this world would just be put the ego aside, let's talk it out, let's make peace. Okay, you get this land, I get this land, you live here, I live there. I speak this language, you speak that language, I'm this color, you're that color. Who cares? At the end of the day, let's talk and figure things out. And not everything has to be a big deal and a big war and a fight and argument. we're doing our research and we're doing, we're saying what we believe in. But if somebody thinks different than us, then voice yourself. Talk to us, talk to somebody else. Be active and communicate. And I think it's a really big part. And if we can have Moshe, if we can get that done, if we can reach our goal and have people talking to each other, I think it could really help create a better future for Israel and for the world.
Yeah, so I want to build on what you said with looking at the bigger picture, looking at Earth as a whole. There's a phenomenon, I do not remember what it's called right now, that when an astronaut goes in space for the first time, he just sees Earth as just one globe, as you said, and it's been mentioned many times by different astronauts that it's just a feeling of wow, we really all are just one person, and there is no reason for us to fight like we do. Too bad it isn't that easy to just shoot us all into space, let us all see that, and then bring us back down
Yeah.
24 hours later.
It's something I think about all the time. Like, I guess I should say it more. I never really fully thought about it, I guess. Like it's crossed my mind, but I never really thought about it. But yeah, like if everyone would just take a big step back, look at this big picture of space, and we are this little place in space, and we're living in the same planet. Let's make the best out of it. Differences aren't bad.
Yeah. So the reason that I really want to start this podcast was just there was a lot of things going around in Israel. There was a lot of just rockets and terrorist attacks, and for a while I felt like a need to do something. I have another project that I'm working on for a few years now, and someone who is in that project, and is helping me throughout that entire thing for 2 years now. I spoke to him several times, and I'm like, "Yo, we have to do something. I can't sit around not doing anything." Uh, of course, I was way up here with my ideas. I was going everywhere from something normal like creating a YouTube channel to, and I am not joking. I suggested we try this, create a newspaper of our own that just tells you the truth. Yeah, that was something I thought of. But and then like at the beginning of this year, I contacted Ozzy and I'm like, look, we both are kind of thinking the same thing. We have to do something. Let's do this. And he brought up the idea of doing a podcast. And here we are, 9 episodes later, and a lot of overthinking, but we've started it, and we're doing it. So yeah, just as Ozzy said, if you have a voice, you should speak up for both sides of the spectrum. We're not saying that we're like we plan at some point probably to have someone just debate with him just on the podcast one on one, have him on a Zoom call and just or her and just debate with them just live. We're not gonna only interview people who think exactly like us because doing that doesn't get us anywhere. We need to have that extra step.
I don't know about you, but a lot of people are reaching out to me and being like, "Oh, you're only having Zionists on your podcast, and you're only sharing what you think and this and that." But it's not true. Everything we say on the podcast, yeah, like it is our podcast, so we could say whatever we want. Sometimes we do say what we believe in, and again, I think that's okay. But most of what we say is based off a lot of research that we do, and not, we don't give our opinions of history. History is not an opinion. Not everything is a matter of opinion. Some things are facts, and a lot of what we say is facts, and things just can't be argued with.
I completely agree. I actually recently watched a video online that showed how easy it is to manipulate facts. Just you slightly change the way you word it, and it's completely different. Sadly, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, that's what everyone going against Israel is doing. Me and Ozzy are not even trying to do that. We're just okay. It said the article says this, the thing says this, the thing says this,
It's
and we
not even
just
that. We
take that
don't
in.
just look at one article and say, "Oh, this is what it
Oh,
says."
for
We
sure, for
research
sure.
which
We
article
research
it is,
everything.
who wrote the article. Do other people say the same thing, or do other people disagree? Who
Yeah,
disagrees?
and if you want,
Why?
if just a little side note, if you want to see all the resources that we've gotten from our previous episodes, it's on our website. You can scroll down and you'll see it. Just on that note, sign up to our newsletter. We'll be sending out updates behind the scenes and stuff. Okay, back to the episode. Um,
Yeah, and like again, like I said before, if anybody does have something else to say, if somebody disagrees with our research, then reach out to us. You know, go on our website, send us an email, reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, you know, whatever's easier for you. Reach out to us, and if you think otherwise, let us know and let's talk about it. Let's find what the truth is. If we're wrong, I will admit if I'm wrong. But as of now, I don't think like everything we've said on the podcast, we don't try to be wrong, obviously. And if we are, then let us know and we'll fix it.
yeah, we've actually, I don't know if changed some people's minds. Sorry, but we've spoken to some people who were actually willing to listen to us, which, trust us, we've both got many people who weren't even willing to get close to us. But we spoke to some people, and they told Ozzy that, like, you've actually given me some things to talk about. I grew up thinking this one thing. Once I heard the other side, I started like learning a few things. We were in a webinar. I don't remember.
Whatever, no names yet, but we're gonna have someone on in the future, hopefully. And she grew up anti-Semitic. I don't know the whole story. Again, we're gonna have her on at some point. But yeah, she grew up anti-Semitic until she started doing her own research, and now she's literally advocating for Zionism.
Yeah, it's cool. No,
It's
but
really cool.
the webinar that was advocating pro East Jerusalem, and they were spinning and changing the facts completely. So me and Ozzy logged on. We were contacted by someone through Instagram, told us to join this thing and like show them the truth, and they kicked me out. I got DM'd by the person who was hosting it, and he said, if you don't stop spreading these lies, I will kick you out. I told him I'm not spreading the lies. I'm doing my research. I was pasting links and whatever. At some point, they kicked me out. So Ozzy was still in, and then he took over, and they kicked us both
Yeah,
out.
I thought you were talking about something else, a different webinar, but yeah, that
Now
was
that webinar was
crazy.
also
That was
cool. Yeah,
crazy.
it was like the entire time they were twisting facts, and there was a chat that everyone could see, and they were just like lying straight out, and
A
people
lot
were
of people
asking
were agreeing
questions.
with us. There were
Yeah,
people on that
people.
were agreeing with us and saying like, yes, Moshe is right, and then the host was just like, he just kicked Moshe out, and I was still in because we were logged on from different things, and I was still in, and I actually I had the guts to write something. I forgot what I wrote exactly, but it was something saying like Moshe's not wrong, blah blah. I wrote this whole long thing, and then right after that he kicked me out also.
Yeah, it's just showing that like we're trying to show you the facts. We're not doing the bias. We're not like
We're not
finding
trying
an
to show you
article.
just what we think. We're trying to show you, yes, what we think, but if we're wrong, talk to me. Just like we're logged on to your opinion, listening to what you say, and then during the Q&A, we write what we say and then we're the wrong ones. If we're wrong, then let us know why. Don't just kick us out.
Yeah. Okay, let's ask one last question, and then we'll probably wrap it up. If you had one thing, we're talking a lot about um, making your voice heard and whatever. If you had one thing to tell the Zionists and one thing to tell the anti-Zionists, what would you say?
Can I stick with my theme? Speak up?
Yeah, that works.
Well then yeah, speak up. I say it all the time and I wish, like I said, that's literally my goal of this podcast. To get people to speak up. If you're a Zionist and you're listening, voice what you think. If you're a Zionist, you're obviously a Zionist for a reason and you should share that reason. And if you're anti-Zionist, then you're anti-Zionist for a reason and you should share that reason. And if everyone would share their reasons, then we'll be able to if everyone could just be detectives for a few minutes and find out why this and why that, then we'll come to a conclusion at some point. It might not take a day or a week, a month, or even a year. Friends reference. But yeah, like at the end of the day, we will come to a conclusion and find a solution.
Okay, so on that topic, I just came up with the idea of how about we create some form where both sides can come and talk together, based off of like our podcast. So obviously we can't have every single one of our listeners come here and talk to us, but let's say we're going to add a part to our website, or if you have any other idea of how to get many people to talk with each other, central hub for people to talk, then let us know.
Okay, so here's my idea. This was not planned for
No,
this
it just came
episode.
up with this right
This
now.
was just brought up right now. Okay, now to our listeners, for now, what I want you to do is if you have any opinion on anything we've ever mentioned or not mentioned, write it to us on Instagram or send it to us on email. Again, everything is linked on our website. And, within Zionism, find us on Instagram, wherever. Write us your opinion, whatever you think. Send it to us however you want. Later on, Moshe and I will find something where we can get that, live chat or something, some sort of like online debate going on. Moshe, I really like that idea. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But for now, I think just send us whatever you think online. That wraps up today's episode. That was really interesting stuff that we spoke about. None of this was planned. This was more of a free for all, just questions and answers and, some different ideas that we brought up. If you have any type of feedback or anything you want to tell us, again, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we have a website, wherever you want to reach out to us from, email, anything, just please send us what you think. We want to be involved with our audience. We've gotten multiple people reaching out to us for a lot of different questions, ideas for episodes, anything it is. We love to be involved. That's why we've been doing Instagram Live, and if you enjoy that, please continue and please share it. And if you're not on that, then please do. It means a lot to us. And again, we just want to be involved in our audience. And yeah, check us out on all of our social media.
Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Stay tuned.
And as usual, stay safe and have a great day.